Hey besties, it's Becky here with Bestie Becky's Crafts, and today I am going to do a video that Susan with Make and Swap and Post-it Memory Decks card group on Facebook asked me to make. She wanted me to show everyone how I make my shaker cards. And I have made a Memory Decks card with a snow globe for the shaker, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make and just kind of how I make mine. So let's get started. And my little secret is foam, craft foam. Let me zoom out. Oops, wrong way. Zoom out here. Is adhesive backed craft foam. My little secret. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the paper I used to make my Memory Decks card, here's the front. You see that? And then I also decorated the back. And we'll get to that too. The paper I used was a paper pad that came out last year from Michaels, and it's Red and White Christmas. I thought it was just kind of cute paper, and since I had it laying around from last year, I need to use it up. So that's the paper pad that I used, and I already went ahead and made the base of my Memory Decks card. And I have done a tutorial on how I do this, so I'll leave a link below showing you where to go to see how that's done. And I already went ahead and covered the back of the card also, because since it is a shaker card, it's kind of heavy, so I wanted to make sure that I had a pretty strong base for it to be glued on. And I knew what I wanted to do for the back. So the paper that I picked happens to have a pattern on it. So when I was thinking of how to cut the backing, I knew this would be the front side, and as someone put it in the Rolodex and it turned over this way, I wanted to make sure that the pattern on the paper went the right way. I hope that makes sense. If there was no specific pattern to the paper, then I just cut it out and not worry about that. But since there are trees on here and they all go a certain way, I wanted to make sure that when they flipped it over that this side was up. So something to keep in mind when you cut out your base for your card is where you want the top of your paper to be on the front and the back, because it makes a difference on which side you cut your tag and how you cut it out. So just something to keep in mind if you use a pattern paper, either front or back, because see, the front has a pattern that goes this way and then that's the opposite. So just a little something to keep in mind. So after I cut out my base, glued them together, it's pretty sturdy. I let it dry. I did use a liquid glue so that they would stay together, and I like to use art glitter glue. I've put it in a little container like this, just makes it easier to glue, and there is a small little tip there so I can do some fine tip gluing. So after I did that, I cut out 2 strips of the paper that matches the back of the card, just to kind of tie all things together. And I cut these 3/4 of an inch wide. So they're both 3/4 of an inch by 4 inches. Now this one I cut making sure that my trees are going up and down, and this one you can see which way the trees are going. So when you glue it down, make sure you put them in the right spot. And again, I'm going to use my art glitter glue just because it's a strong glue and I don't have to worry about anything falling off when I use it. So I'm going to put this up near the top, because as you see on this one I put a snowflake. So just put that up on the top. Now if it hung over a little bit, wouldn't be a problem. I would just trim the end. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue this one on. Like, we don't care about that. We want to get to the shaker part. And we will. And this goes here. And it is cut a little long, which is fine. Like I said, we just trim it. So take my scissors and trim. Alright. So now while this dries, let's go ahead and start on our shaker part. Now for the shaker part, I have some stamps and dies that I used. And if I didn't have stamps or dies, then you could cut it and decorate the inside freehand by just getting a pattern off of the computer or drawing it freehand. But I happen to have this die from Lawn Fawn, and it's the Ready Set Snow die set, and it's a snow globe. And it made it really easy for me. And then I also use stamps from the same, I think it's the same set. Yeah, same set. And then also from Toboggan Together is where I got my little penguins and the hat and the presents. Okay, so I'll put these off to the side, and I keep my dies in their stamp packages, and I glue on a magnetic sheet to keep my dies on. If I buy a matching die set to go with my stamps, they're right there. They're stuck. They're not going anywhere, and then it's all together. So a little tip, that's how I keep my stamps and dies together, instead of having them separate places and having to hunt for them. So the first thing I did, okay, is I cut my back piece. So let's start from the back and work our way up. I started from the back, and you can see just a tiny little bit up here at the top of the back of my shaker. Now, I didn't have to cut a backing piece. I could have just left it what it was, but when I first made it, I wasn't sure how much would show, so I just wanted to make sure that I had a finished piece. So I cut my backing piece, just a solid piece of the whole snow globe. Alright, so there's my back piece. Okay, and then I cut what is my background piece, which is snow, the gray piece in there, which I cut with the same die so that it matches. Alright, just like so. And I'm going to go ahead and glue those together, because I know those are going to go together. And again, I'm going to use my art glitter glue. You could use, you know, your paper tape glue, whatever glue you feel comfortable with. But I like that I get a little wiggle time. Wiggle time. Remember the Wiggles? I get a little wiggle room to get it lined up good. So there's the back of my snow globe and the sky piece of my snow globe. Alright. And then I went ahead and cut my snow, which happens to be, oops, this piece right here. And I use glitter paper, if you can see that. Kind of white glitter paper for snow. I thought that was cute. And that will go on top of here, alright? But I'm not going to glue that yet, okay? And we're just doing our little sandwich. So, then I cut 2 pieces out of craft foam. and I used this piece because when you use this piece, it cuts out this window. So when I use the craft foam, I just lay it on the craft foam like you normally cut out through your die cutting machine, alright? And since this whole piece won't fit, of course, I cut around it and run it through, and it does cut it. Trust me, it does cut it. I usually go through a couple times just to make sure, but it cuts it, then you have a little piece you could use for something else. So I have one piece of foam, and then it is backed with the paper adhesive. Alright? And then I do that another time because I like to have the width, okay, of 2. Now you can do more if you want. You could just do 1 if you wanted, depending on what you were using for your shakers. But I like to do at least 2. Okay? So I use that piece to cut it out because it cut out the window. Alright? So that'll be our next sandwich. Alright. So I'm kind of hoping this makes sense to you. Now, I cut out my window piece so that it holds all my shaker pieces in, and this is it. And I again used the back piece because I wanted a solid sheet to cover the whole thing to keep all of my sequins in. Now, what I use for my clear little window is just good old transparency film. Do you remember back in school when teachers used to use projectors and they had the pens they had to clean off with a wet paper towel? I happened to find this at the thrift store for $2 unopened, and I was so excited because these work really great. I don't know if you can still find them at the business supply store or not. I would think you could, but they work really great. If you can't find these, then you can use old packaging. You could use even Shrinky Dink. I've used Shrinky Dink before, but Shrinky Dink is too thick to run through your die cutting machine. You'd have to trace around it and cut out. But Shrinky Dink does work, and I know that you can still find that. But this works awesome because you can run it through your die cutting machine. One pass. So I used my die, that's the full size, and ran it through. Now it does sound bad so, when you run it through, because you're cutting plastic, so it sounds really crinkly and like you're doing something wrong, but you're not, alright? And one pass and it's cut perfect. So that's what will go on top of that. Alright, my little sandwich here. And then I needed to cut the top. And so for the top, it came out like this. I used the same die that I used to cut my foam, this one, and the little window comes out and that'll sit up on top, and then you just have an extra piece of paper that you can do whatever you'd like. So that's all I used from my die. And like I said, if you don't have your die, you would need to just get a snow globe shape and draw out the back and draw out a window in it, and then you can just make your snow background however you want. Just cut it freehand. So easy enough. I did not use this one, so those are the only 3 that I used. Okay, so I'll put this to the side and we'll start putting it together. So remember, I already glued my front and back together. Okay, so this is the inside sky part of my snow globe. Alright, and now I want to glue my snow down so it has a little time to dry before I put my sequins in there. And it's got like little, I don't know, fuzzies or something on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on the back. Oops, got it on my table. I'll have everything sticking to my table. Alright, now I am a tweezer kind of girl here, so I'm going to just kind of eyeball where I want it to go and put it in there. Okay. It doesn't have to be straight, doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as the bottom of the snow is going to be covered by the bottom of my snow globe front. Okay, so I could put it down further, I could put it, you know, just as long as that you don't see the bottom. Alright, and if you cut it out freehand, you could even do it so where you don't have to worry about that. Alright, so now put those to the side. We have our two pieces of foam, and this is where it gets a little fun, I guess if you want to call it that, is putting the foam pieces together. Now, because they're foam, you have a little leeway to bend them and pull them and so on, which makes it nice to get them lined up. So what I do is I just pull back part way so that only part of this, the whole thing's not sticky, so I can kind of, you know, have, just get it lined up easier. I don't know how else to say it. Okay? And just line up the two pieces. I can pick it up. And use my fingers and push it down so they're all lined up, just like that. Okay? And then just pull out the bottom piece and do the same thing. Just make sure that it's lined up. And sometimes if it gets off a little bit, you can still pull it apart. Like that. And do it again, just as long as you haven't really pressed it down. Like so. Okay. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll go ahead and press it together really good. Alright, and there we have the spacer. And the nice thing about this is it's solid. You don't have to use your foam tape and try and cut and fit it around there. And it gives you, it's solid, it has a nice finished edge, as you can see here. Nice finished edge. So then the next thing to do is we glue it down on here, but we don't have to glue it because we have this paper. But I'm going to do it a little bit different. First of all, I'm going to glue my window to the back side of my front. Alright, so I'll get my glue a little time to dry here. And you just need a thin bead, because it's going to squish out a little bit. But just make sure you get, pretty close to the edge. So. And put your window on. Okay, so there's my window. And since it's wet glue, you can kind of move it a little bit to get it lined up. And if there's any edge hanging over for whatever reason, there shouldn't be if you use a die, but if there is, if you draw it by hand, just trim it. Not a huge deal. Alright, so now, instead of putting this down on here and putting this on top, I will want to make sure that I line up through my window really, really well, okay? So that you can't see my foam through the window. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to flip my foam over, and I'm going to pull back that paper to show the adhesive. I'm going to do basically the same thing I did when I put the two pieces together. Just going to make sure that you can't see the foam. Okay. And then pull out that paper. And there we go. Now, if the foam is sticking out too much on the side, you can trim it, but you know what, I'm okay with that. It's really not bad, but you could, if you wanted to, you could trim it. You could trim it with scissors if you wanted, because the foam cut's really easy. Or you could use a blade, you know, a craft blade. Like this. Mine is terribly dirty. But you could also use a blade to cut the craft foam. So just make sure that you have a cutting mat underneath you when you do that. So now we have our two pieces, just like that, and we're almost done. Almost done. But sometimes this can be a little sticky, so I just take my embossing powder bag. I don't have the one in the bottle with the little end on it. All I have is the bag. So actually it's a little bit messier than the other way, but I just run it across that edge just to make sure that there's no stick. Alright, now it may leave some powder on my little window there, so let me go ahead and wipe it off. Usually I just use my t-shirt, but you know, we're on camera, so I'll use Kleenex. Alright, so window's pretty clean. Now let's go ahead and build our scene. And I have already cut out, colored our little penguin and his presents. Isn't he cute? And I've already stamped out Merry Christmas that goes on the bottom of our snow globe here. So now it's just a matter of gluing everything down. So I'm going to glue my penguin down first, again using my art glitter glue. Now you could use, you know, anything that you wanted. You want to do reindeer, snowman, Santa, whatever you wanted to do in your snow globe scene. So I'm just putting this on top so I kind of have an idea of where I need to put him and how far down, because his hat, and I also have the presents. So that should work. Alright, let's put his little hat on. Oops. And I also used a white gel pen just to add little highlights and little decorative things to everything. I think that's going to cover up his hat. Oh, it is because I put him on the wrong side. Oh no. Uh-oh, Mr. Penguin, I'm sorry. Phew. Well, Present's gonna have to cover that up. I'm looking at him upside down over here. Got confused. Alright. The Presents will cover up that little boo-boo. We'll just put him up a little bit higher. There we go. That works. Probably should put him so they're behind him then. Bring out his little... There. There. And now, ooh. How did I get glue on the front? Alright, perfect. Just like that. Alright. Just clean off the glue. I just hope y'all didn't see that. I don't have any wipes. Okay. So, let's go ahead and fill up our shaker. Now for that, I found some chunky glitter that looks like snowflakes. I got this at Target, Dollar Spot, I think, last year. So I'm just going to put some of those in there. And there's no rhyme or reason how much to put in. Except I think that was a little too much. Because I'm going to put other glitter in. Okay. Try and keep it in the center. And then I'm going to put some clear glitter, well, sequins, I'm sorry, actually sequins, kind of pearlescent little sequins in there, just a few. And I keep my sequins in these lock boxes you can find in the jewelry section, or you can keep your beads in. They come in the little purple Craft Mates box, but they were great for sequins. Love it. So, okay, anyway. So, there I have my sequins in there. Now comes the fun, kind of tricky part. Then I'm going to put glue on the foam, because there's no adhesive edge on this side. Okay. And then I'm going to turn over my penguin and put him on the back. And make sure he's lined up nice and good with the front. And there you go. Got a little hang up there. Shake, shake, shake. There we go. Alright. Let me see my shaker. Isn't that pretty easy? Now we're going to glue the Merry Christmas to the front. Steven it up. And I am going to glue this onto the front of my Memory Dex card. And I'm not going to go all the way to the top because remember, part of it shows, but the whole bottom is glued, and this is really strong glue. And I just want to make sure that the holes aren't covered on the bottom. And that he's straight. And then I have a snowflake I want to put right here. And I have to use foam dots. I think I used the big ones. Yep. And I had to stack two because of the width of the snow globe shaker. I always put extra glue. And I'm going to put in right where those two cross, just like that. And then I made a bow out of baker's twine. It's red with silver in it. And I'm just going to put a drop here in the center. And glue him down, like so. Oop. I want to cooperate. There we go. Alrighty. And then I have some gems that I want to put to cover up these little black dots, just to dress it up some. And these happen to be on a, well, attached together, you know, in the rope thingy. So I have to cut them apart, which is no big deal. And I'll put two little dots. I don't trust bling to stick, so I always add glue. I never have good luck with bling. Always falls off. Alright, so there's the front. And now let's flip it over and do the back. Really easy. I again cut out 2 strips of paper, 3/4 of an inch by 4 inches. And I'll go ahead and glue these on. Oh, got that one a little long. Sorry. I'll trim it here in just a second. And then the other piece. It's just a little bit long too, which is fine. I just trim. Oh, maybe he's okay. No, he looks okay. Alright, awesome. And now, to make the bow, I used my bow punch with the mustache. It is from EK, and I cut out 3 bows, and I'm going to use a little foam dot in between each of them to put them together. And I'm going to offset them. Just to give it a little extra interest. I usually glue my foam dots too, but save time. Okay, and now I can glue this onto my package. And I'm going to put it red gem in the center there. Can never have enough bling. Right. And then I have a tag that I just used my tag punch from Recollections. I cut out the middle tag, or punched the middle tag, and that's what we'll glue down there to do a to from tag, or I could punch a hole in it and put a string on it, however I want to do it, but I'm just going to glue it down. Kind of put it under there, and there we go. There's the back side. And then there's the front. Oop. I just moved my bow. And our shaker card. Isn't that easy? So my secrets are adhesive backed foam, and I think this is it doesn't say how skinny, but it's not very thick. I know you can buy it in the thicker, like 5mm or whatever, but I just buy the thin pieces. They're 8.5. Oh, I'm sorry, they're 9x12. So I just buy those, and you can buy them in different colors if you're doing different colored shakers, so that they match whatever you're making. And then I also use the transparency film sheets for my windows. So that's how I make a shaker card. So I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you understood my video. If not, leave any questions below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And maybe next time I'll show you how I do this, but I make a card. It's basically the same idea. I still use the plastic foam, the foam, but just use, as a card base. Instead of this part gluing it on, it goes inside the card. So maybe I'll show you how to do that next time. Really easy. Alright, that's it, ladies. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Take care. And I will leave links below to the tutorial on how I make my Memorydex card base, and also a link to the Make and Swap and Post-it Memorydex card group on Facebook, as well as my Facebook Fun Life on a Budget featuring me, Bestie Becky. So that's it. I'll see you next time. Take care. Hi Mom. Hi Irina. Hi Dara. And everyone, keep crafting. And I hope you give shaker cards a try. And they're kind of addicting, so just be careful. See you next time. Bye.